Hello and welcome to the Past Functional Skills video solutions for the City and Guilds Functional Skills English Level 2 Reading Practice paper. The topic for this paper is hedgehogs. Before watching this video, please make sure that you've read the two sources in the insert and you've attempted to complete the paper yourself. Question 1. According to document A, which of the following statements are true? Tick 2. So for this question we need to carefully read through document A and then we're going to have a look at these statements and see which two of them are true. So let's start with statement A. Hedgehogs are in decline in the UK. Well, we can see in the document that that is true. The hedgehog is disappearing from British gardens and it's becoming a rare sight. Hedgehog numbers have halved since 2000. So that's definitely true. Hedgehogs are in decline in the UK. Statement B, the general public can assist with the welfare of hedgehogs. Let's have a look at the document. We can see that people definitely can help. To make your garden a haven for hedgehogs doesn't take a lot. So anyone from local communities can create log piles, compost heaps and other facilities for hedgehogs to help them out. So B is also correct. It's also true. The general public can assist with the welfare of hedgehogs, which means that the rest of the answers need to be false because we've been told to tick two answers. So hedgehogs are not endangered in the UK. The document doesn't mention about them being endangered at any point. It just says that the numbers are declining. Hedgehogs are viewed as pests. The document doesn't tell us that at any point. Badgers have decreased in population by 250,000 since the 1980s. Be careful with this one because there is a statistic about badger populations. However, it says that badger populations have risen by 250,000 in the since the 1980s rather than decreased in population. So make sure you read the question carefully there. And finally, badgers are the main reason for the decline in hedgehogs. Well, the document says that badgers are just one reason for the decline in hedgehogs. There are also other things to blame. For example, human beings, we are. So overall, the two statements that are true and the correct answers to this question are A and B. Question 2. How is the number of badgers in the UK relevant to the number of hedgehogs in the UK? Okay, so for this question, we want to look at the number of badgers and the number of hedgehogs. And we have to see how the number of badgers relates to the number of hedgehogs. So what is the connection between the two of them? So if we have a look at the text and we scan for any mentions of badgers, we can see that badgers eat hedgehogs, so that could be an option that you could put down. And we see that the estimated badger population in England and Wales has risen from 250,000 in the 1980s, while hedgehogs have decreased. So studies have shown badgers can have a negative impact on hedgehog density. And this means that an increase in the population of badgers has contributed to a decrease in the population of hedgehogs. So that's the relationship between the number of badgers and number of hedgehogs that we can see in the text. Question 3. From the text, identify two creatures which the hedgehog chiefly feeds upon. Okay, so we want to find two creatures, so two different animals that the hedgehog feeds upon. So things that hedgehogs eat. So we just have a quick look through the text and try to find any mention of hedgehogs eating. So here we can see that the text talks about their main diet, and diet is obviously to do with food. So you could choose any of these options here: worms, beetles, slugs, caterpillars, earwigs and millipedes. And this student has chosen to say that they eat millipedes and slugs. These are two different creatures, So that satisfies what the question is asking. Question 4, what is the main aim of the campaign Hedgehog Street? So we want to scan for Hedgehog Street in the text and find out what its main aim is, what its main purpose is. So when we have a look, we can see Hedgehog Street is mentioned here in this link, and the main aim is to encourage people to champion the species and its habitat. The text goes on to talk a little bit more about Hedgehog Street, about helping hedgehogs, that kind of thing. So the student here has written that the aim is to show how neighbourhoods can work together to help hedgehogs and champion the species. So that's a good answer because it's using words that have been taken directly from the text. Question 5, what is a hedgehog highway? So in this question we're being asked to define what a hedgehog highway is using the text. So if we have a quick look at the text, we scan through and find where it says hedgehog highways. Well, we've got an image showing us hedgehog highways here, which gives us a little bit of an indication. We can see that there's little holes in garden fences, and if we have a look in the text we can see that they are in fact holes in fences and walls that allow for the safe passage of hedgehogs. Okay, so the answer to this question is a series of holes in walls and fences between gardens that allow hedgehogs to safely pass through. So that's a good answer using the text. Question 6. The first page of document A provides some information using statistics. Find 2 examples of statistics and explain their effect. And this is a 4-mark question. So we're going to get a mark for each of the 2 statistics that we've been told to find, and a mark for explaining each of their effects, creating 4 marks overall. We want to focus only on the first page of document A, so not looking at any other pages. So if we have a quick look at the first page of document A, we're looking for statistics. So statistics are facts that contain numbers. So if we have a scan through, we can see that numbers have been included here. Rural hedgehogs in the UK have halved in number since 2000, while urban hedgehogs have declined by 1/3. So that's one statistic that you could use. Underneath, we've got more widely, UK hedgehog numbers have dropped from an estimated 30 million in the 1950s to under 1 million today. And then further on, we have more statistics saying that the estimated badger population in England and Wales has risen from 250,000 in the 1980s to 485,000 in 2017. So we've got a number of statistics that we can choose from there. So we need to identify 2 of these, and then we need to explain what effect has been created. So the student has correctly identified 2 statistics. The first one that they've got is hedgehog road deaths are estimated to exceed 100,000 a year in Britain. And then the effect that they've identified is that this large number may cause the reader to sympathise with hedgehogs and see the severity of the problem. So the reader is sympathising. The effect is essentially how the reader thinks or feels as a result of reading the text. So as a result of reading this statistic, the reader might feel upset. They might feel bad about the number of hedgehogs that are dying. 100,000 is quite a large number, so that would cause them to see the severity of the problem. And then the next statistic that we have is the estimated badger population in England and Wales has risen from 250,000 in the 1980s to 485,000 in 2017. And the effect of this is that the reader can see that in contrast to the declining population of hedgehogs, the badger population is increasing rapidly. This suggests a link between the decrease in hedgehog numbers and the increase in badger numbers. So when the reader sees this statistic, they can see that the badger population is going up it has risen, and it's risen quite dramatically, so it's nearly doubled from 250,000 to 485,000. And that was based on the article that we've got here about the hedgehogs disappearing. That suggests quite a strong link between the hedgehog decline and the badger increase. So we do see here that studies have shown the presence of badgers can have a negative impact on hedgehog density, and that statistic has been used to support that fact. So overall, the student has identified 2 statistics correctly, and they've explained the effects on the reader, what the reader feels and thinks when they read the text. Question 7. From document A, find 2 examples of dangers hedgehogs can face in gardens. So we're looking at document A, and we need to find 2 examples of dangers that hedgehogs are facing in gardens. Now when we're looking for dangers, we're looking for anything that could possibly harm hedgehogs. And there's quite a few options to choose from in the text here. So the source explains that there are a wide range of small steps you can take to help save hedgehog lives. Checking compost heaps before digging with a fork and checking long grass before using strimmers or mowers will stop horrific injuries. So it's suggesting here that garden instruments can cause horrific injuries to hedgehogs. We've also got moving piles of rubbish to a new site before burning and checking bonfires before lighting will prevent deaths by burning. So another potential danger to hedgehogs is death by burning in the garden. Keeping netting at a safe height will avoid tangling and starvation. So again, we have another example there of things that are dangerous to hedgehogs. Netting can cause tangling and starvation for them. Stopping or reducing use of pesticides and slug pellets will stop or reduce poisoning. So that's another danger that they face, poisoning by pesticides and slug pellets. And then they can also face drowning. They can get trapped in litter. There's all different kinds of dangers that you could identify there, but we have only been asked for 2 examples. So the student here has correctly identified slug pellets and pesticides, both of which are poisonous to hedgehogs according to the text. Question 8. Using the text, how can a reader learn more about the person who made a summer garden at the 2014 RHS Hampton Court Palace Flower Show? Okay, so in this question, we need to find out how readers can learn more about the person who made a summer garden, and we want specifically to be looking at the 2014 Hampton Court Flower Show. So if we scan the text for information about the flower show, we can see here's the flower show, and the person is Tracy Foster, but the question asks us to find out more about her. So how could we do that? Well, we can click on the link. We can see that it's a link because it's underlined and it's in blue text. So the answer here is that the reader can click on the Tracy Foster link. Question 9. Document B states that New Zealand has no native land-based mammals. If this is the case, how did hedgehogs come to be in New Zealand? So we want to be looking at document B for this question, and we want to find out how hedgehogs got to New Zealand. So if we take a look at the document, we can see in the subheading here that they were brought over by British settlers to make themselves feel more at home. And later in the document, it also says that hedgehogs were introduced very deliberately to remind the settlers of the gardens of home. So the answer to this question is that hedgehogs were introduced deliberately by British settlers. Make sure that you don't just say hedgehogs were introduced. You need that extra detail there, the deliberate introduction, and by British settlers, to just be a bit more specific and get the marks. Question 10. According to document B, how much does a hedgehog weigh? So we want to look in document B and find out how much the hedgehog weighs. So if we go down, we see you're chasing these 600-gram animals in this quote, and that means that the hedgehogs weigh 600 grams. Pretty simple, nice, easy question there. Easy to just identify it from the text and write it down for the mark. Question 11. What is the Beatrix Potter effect? So in this question, we need to scan the text for any mentions of the Beatrix Potter effect, and we need to work out what that means in the context of the text. So let's have a little look at the text and spot any mentions of Beatrix Potter and the Beatrix Potter effect. So we've got this subheading here that will help us to try and find out information about this effect. And then further down, it goes on to explain that there is a bit of a psychological barrier when it comes to hedgehog eradication, a problem, he says, some researchers dubbed the Beatrix Potter effect. And it goes on to explain that they, meaning hedgehogs, have held a special place in the hearts of New Zealanders. So, what is the Beatrix Potter effect? Well, we can define it as a psychological barrier that causes New Zealanders to have a special affection for hedgehogs. And we have used a part of the text, a quote from the text there, to help us with our definition, but make sure that you're also using your own words in your answer to show that you have a really good understanding of the text. Question 12. In document B, the writer says that the hedgehog is a beloved creature. If this is the case, why do many scientists want to eradicate the hedgehog from New Zealand? So here we need to read through document B, and we need to explain, because we're being asked why. So we need to explain why scientists want to eradicate the hedgehog from New Zealand. So if you don't know what eradicate means, you can have a look in your dictionary and you will see that it means get rid of or destroy. So why are the scientists wanting to destroy these beloved creatures? Well, we can see in document B that the hedgehogs are creating a lot of damage. So here we have a PhD candidate talking about the damage that hedgehogs can do. They consume numerous native lizards, bird eggs, and they are just generally causing damage to the native populations. So for this question, you could explain that scientists want to protect native populations instead of protecting this invasive species of the hedgehogs, or you could write that the hedgehog population contributes to the destruction of native species of animals like lizards and insects. Question 13. How does the writer of document B use language to convey information about hedgehogs? Refer to 2 techniques or examples and comment on their effects. So this is another 4-mark question, and it's got lots of different parts. So first of all, we want to be looking specifically at document B, and we want to look at the language use. So we want to look at specific language techniques that the writer is using to convey information about hedgehogs. We want to only look at information about hedgehogs, nothing else. And we need to refer to 2 techniques or examples and then comment on their effects. So as we said before, the effect is how the reader thinks and feels as a result of the text. Okay, so we'll have a look and we can see that there is a contrast used. So in text B, they are called killing machines, and then they are called most beloved and described as bright-eyed, snuffling, very nice creatures. So the effect of this contrast is that it introduces humour, because you wouldn't expect a cute little fluffy hedgehog to be a killing machine, so that attracts the reader's attention. And it emphasises the distinction between the public view of the hedgehogs as cute and fluffy and the reality of their impact on the local wildlife. They are killing the local wildlife. And then the second technique that's been identified is emotive language. So the text says that hedgehogs have a special place in the hearts of the New Zealanders. And this emotive language, the effect of that is that it conveys strong positive feelings that the public have towards hedgehogs. So there we have it. We've got two effects and we've got two different language techniques that the author has used. Now, you don't have to use these examples specifically, but you do have to think about how these techniques are making you think about the text and how they make you feel about the text. So let's take a look at question 14. Questions 14 and 15, they both refer to source A and source B, so they're going to be comparison questions, and we want to refer to both documents when we answer the question. So question 14 says, the writers of document A and document B offer different views on hedgehogs. Use one piece of supporting evidence from each document to compare how these views differ. So this is a 4-mark question, it's quite a chunky one. So we want to be looking at both the documents, document A and document B, and we want to have a look at their different views. So that's kind of their opinions and the ways that they think about hedgehogs. Okay, and then we want to use a piece of supporting evidence, so that means quotes, from each document to compare how the views differ. So we want to find different views, we don't want to find similarities here, just differences. So the student here has said that document A focuses on preventing the decline of hedgehogs in the UK, stating that it is our responsibility to save them. In contrast, document B focuses on preventing the increase in hedgehog populations in New Zealand, stating that the mission to try and drive hedgehogs from protected habitats is seen as critical in New Zealand. So why is this a good answer? Well, the student has focused on both document A and document B, and they've talked about the views that each document give. So document A focuses on preventing the decline of hedgehogs in the UK, while document B focuses on preventing the increase in hedgehog populations in New Zealand. And then they've used a quote as a piece of supporting evidence from each of the documents. So, it is our responsibility to save them. So document A clearly wants to save the hedgehogs, and document B says that the mission to try and drive them from protected habitats is seen as critical. So they want to drive them out. So that's two different views. Question 15. In what ways do the writers of document A and B agree? Use one piece of supporting evidence from each document to compare how their views are similar. Okay, so in this question again, we're going to be looking at both documents and we're going to see what they agree on. So here we're looking for similarities rather than differences. And we want to use a piece of supporting evidence, so that means quotes, from each document to compare how their views are similar. Okay, so looking at similarities here. So the student's written, document A suggests that hedgehogs are popular with the public, naming the hedgehog Britain's favourite mammal. Document B similarly suggests that hedgehogs are popular as they hold a special place in the hearts of New Zealanders. Okay, so here the student has identified that hedgehogs are popular in both sources, and they've used that keyword there similarly to signpost to the examiner that they're looking for similarities here. It's also a good answer because they have used supporting evidence, they've used quotes, so they've said Britain's favourite mammal. This is a really good quote that illustrates that hedgehogs are popular. And document B, they've got a special place in the hearts of New Zealanders. New Zealanders like them. They're clearly popular in New Zealand. So that's a really good comparative answer there.